Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Richard Donaldson Show. Hopefully, you can hear me okay. Hopefully, you can see me okay. I would just like to apologise, actually, because today at 2 o'clock I did go live, but I'm in my garage. I say kitted out my garage. I've painted a wall and then I've dragged some old furniture in that was in my room anyway. We've got a baby on the way, and we've only got a couple of weeks really before, he's going to be here. So my wife was on my case. She was like, right, we need to sort that spare room out. Like, I think she's nesting. And so I was like, well, okay, then I'll look at renting like a little office, and so expensive. Don't have the money for it. So I kitted out the garage. And I painted the back wall, dragged some furniture in. And then today at 2 o'clock, I got myself in here. When I say it was hot, like obviously I've been to the Middle East in the past with the army, and we used to work in like aircraft hangars and stuff, and they used to reach like 60 degrees, in Cyprus, for example. It was really hot when I went there, and it was just like that. Like, it's a metal roof. The wall, this back wall here, that's what the sun hits all day. So it got so hot, and the camera absolutely shut itself. My computer absolutely shut itself, and everything just shut down. Everything overheated, and it shut down. So yeah, I would just like to apologise for everyone who had tuned in. We're now back. It's much cooler. So let's go again. I'm going to jump straight in. Please drop your comments. They will appear on the screen. If you've got anything you want to ask, if you've got anything you want to say, I'll keep coming back. I'll keep reading them out. Let me just try it. Can I make that a little bit bigger so I can see what you are writing there? Hello, Kaz. Nice to see you. So yeah, that was the story for today. A lot of people messaged me. They said, oh God, I can't believe Rich has been taken down. I wasn't taken down at all, I promise you. It just got so hot in here that all my technology literally shat itself. So yeah, I do apologise. Let's jump straight in. And I want to start with Henry Nowak. And I know I've mentioned Henry Nowak quite a few times now, but I do feel it's incredibly important to keep touching on this story. So for anyone who doesn't know, Henry Nowak was an 18-year-old boy who he was stabbed by a Sikh. A Sikh was carrying his kirpan, and the Sikh stabbed Henry. And when the police arrived, they put Henry in handcuffs because the Sikh said that Henry was being racist. Obviously quite a lot to unpack. But what I want to ask is this. When it first came out, well, I thought it first came out just a couple of days ago, and I started sharing it. It was the first time I'd really seen it, was probably sort of 3 or 4 days ago. But that's not the case. And I want to ask this. Why did it take months for us to hear about Henry Nowak, the 18-year-old white boy that was stabbed by a Sikh? And then when the police arrived, he ended up in cuffs himself and was left to bleed out because, as I say, the Sikh that actually stabbed him said that Henry was being racist. Why was this story silenced for so long? It happened last December, yet we are only just really finding out about it now. I mean, why, when it was George Floyd, was it made international news instantly? Everyone was taking knees, and Hollywood celebrities, they were donating millions to Black Lives Matter. But as I say, when it's a white boy, total silence. For months. We had a drugged up black guy who died because the police did what the police were supposed to do. They restrained him in the correct manner. And it's a tragedy, isn't it, when he dies, even though he was off his head on fentanyl. He had 4 times the amount of fentanyl required to kill a person in his system. The police did the right thing. However, the police officer still went to jail. Now, obviously, when George Floyd died, as I say, it was a tragedy because it fits the narrative. But when it's an 18-year-old white boy, no one seems to care. Even Starmer took the knee for George Floyd. But he hasn't even mentioned Henry. Not once. Not in a press conference. Not on social media. There's just been nothing. A complete media blackout. Now, I wouldn't even be too surprised if the BBC are already working on a drama adaptation of this where they do what they always do and flip the script so that, a crazy 18-year-old white boy stabs a Sikh man and they claim it's based on a true story because that's what they do. They flip the script. They alter the narrative. Now, what I'm going to do is update you all on the actual case itself because the whole thing, it completely stinks. And we've had a major development in court that has got people absolutely furious. And rightly so. I'm furious. Because the judge, William Mousley, told the jury that that manslaughter is now being considered as an alternative verdict to murder. Now, Basil the Great has spoken about this on X. That's not Basil the Great. That was Honest Welshman. I'm trying to get the things up on the screen. But Basil the Great spoke about this. It might be this one here. There we go. I need new glasses. Judge reduces Henry Nowak murder to manslaughter. This is Judge William Mousley KC. He has ordered that Vikram Digwa face a manslaughter charge instead of murder despite stabbing Henry Nowak in the back of the legs as he tried to escape. Absolutely horrific. And it is absolutely horrific. The judge, William Mousley KC, told the jury that he had ordered Digwa to face a charge of manslaughter as an alternative to the murder charge. Explaining the new charge, the judge told the jurors if a person may not have deliberately have caused the fatal injury or may not have intended to kill or cause reasonable serious harm, he or she is not guilty of murder. You're telling me that a young lad was stabbed through the chest and we're now discussing whether there was intent. Henry was also stabbed in the back of both legs. The back of his leg, so he was trying to get away. So how is this accidental? How could it ever be considered manslaughter to stab a young boy in both legs and then his chest and not call it murder? Like, how could that ever be the case? But the Sikh man, this Digwa, is saying that it was self-defense. He says that he had to defend himself and stab Henry repeatedly because Henry said some racist words. And I don't care what anyone says. Even if Henry did do some or even all of that, is that an excuse to stab him? Now, of course, in the UK, this is how things work. We see it all the time. People are jailed for the most bullshit reasons, and real violent offenders are given the softer side of the judicial system, particularly like if they're not white. We've seen prisons release murderers, rapists, and even paedophiles to make room for people who post hurty words online. Now I can go back to this one because Honest Welshman said this on X. He said, "Read this absolute piss take of a trial regarding the brutalisation of Henry Nowak. The judge, William Mousley KC, told the jury that he had ordered Digwa to face a charge of manslaughter as an alternative to the murder charge. Manslaughter. He was stabbed in the back of both legs and stabbed through the chest with a 21-centimetre blade. We need trials for these judges, absolute traitors to their people. It gets better." He claims Henry racially abused him, punched him, and knocked off his turban. He said then, in self-defence, he stabbed Nowak in the back of both legs, then did not realise he thrust a 21-centimetre blade through his chest. There's more. In response to this, that piece of shit judge said this: if a person may not have deliberately caused the fatal injury or may not have intended to kill or cause reasonably serious harm, he or she is not guilty of murder. may not have intended to kill or cause reasonably serious harm. Well, I'm sorry, but when you stab someone in the chest and both legs, I'd say you're probably looking at a very minimum to cause them serious harm. The whole thing absolutely stinks. What I also think is like infuriatingly interesting is the fact that Keir Starmer chose to take the knee for George Floyd, the American crackhead, but so far, like I say, he hasn't mentioned Henry once. It says it all, doesn't it? Like, I will continue to follow this story, and this Thursday a protest is being held in Henry's name on Thursday, 28th of May at 6 p.m. at Southampton Police Station. People want answers, and rightly so. Now, before I get into the next story, please take a moment to make sure you are following me, you're subscribed, etc. And depending what platform you're on, you either drop a comment or leave a 5-star review. 5 stars, not 1, 5, if you're able to. It really helps me and this channel, so thank you so much. Let's have a look at some of the comments, shall we? So yeah, Doc Barnes says this is beyond belief. Kaz D says that the police act against us. Life is very scary. I agree, Kaz. Lou has said, well, her point would be, why was he carrying a knife anyway? I mean, okay, it's a ceremonial knife. Personally, I think they should all be banned. That's why he was carrying the knife in the first place. But also in the court documents, it's being said that he had his kirpan, which was like that big. It's a ceremonial one. It's what they carry with them. What would be the right word? It's kind of not indicative of the blade. It's like a representation. But then he was also carrying an 8-inch knife as well, and that's what he used on Henry. Now, this isn't just Henry Nowak. I think that what we are seeing is the collapse of our entire justice system. It's it's upside down. It's inside out. And what's more, it seems to be rigged against normal people. In fact, senior police officers are warning right now under Labour's new sentencing reforms that police are about to become babysitters for criminals, quite frankly, because Labour's new reforms would mean that instead of locking up violent thugs, they want more people to be given ankle tags. They want more early releases, more community supervision, and more suspended sentences. And this is the thing, the police will simply give up. They'll stop policing. Why would they put themselves on the line, do the dangerous work, arresting people, fighting criminals, risk getting punched, kicked, spat on and stabbed when the system itself doesn't want to lock these people up? How about we stop housing illegals in hotels, stop spending billions abroad and actually build more prisons? Lock people up when they break the law. When a country doesn't even have the capability to lock up its own criminals, you know that chaos is about to ensue because nothing is actually being improved. Everything is declining. Everything's about managed decline. I want people in the comments, if you can, to give me one example of something that is better right now than it was 10 years ago or even 5 years ago. Name one thing that's better now. One thing. I'll keep going, but I'll check the comments. I'll see if someone can give me one example. Bet you can't. Everything is getting worse, and we just seem to be rolling over and taking it. Tommy Holden says the ankle tags won't stop the crazy ones. Of course it won't. Of course it won't. Tommy then has gone on to say the legal system, nothing, it seems. Copper wants charging, says Sandra. The judge said that because who actually caused the death, because that's who actually caused the death, the person who stabbed him, the copper, because he held him down and denied him medical attention, which one is the killer? That's why. So yeah, I think what Sandra's getting at here is the fact that the police officer himself should be answerable for this. Because yes, Digwa stabbed, because Digwa did the stabbing, he stabbed Henry. Yes, okay, Digwa should be done for murder, but at the same time, the police officer that arrived on the scene, we know that Henry said, I can't breathe, I've been stabbed, and the police officer was like, no you haven't, put him in handcuffs, you're a racist. That took priority. We know that. It's a mess right now. We are in an absolute mess. That's the truth. Here's another example of where we're going so wrong as a country. So one of the ringleaders of a Pakistani grooming gang that preyed on 27 white British schoolgirls, some as young as 12, was released early, just a few months ago. This guy has even been placed back on the streets of Derby. So this is one of the Pakistani Muslims who was part of the grooming gangs, or rape gangs, if we're being honest. And he was taken from jail and put back onto the streets of Derby, where he committed his crimes in the first place. Now, his name is Mohammed. I'm going to try and say this. Laikwat, whatever, who cares? His name's Mohammed. And he was found guilty of rape, sexual assault, aid in rape, torture, child trafficking, and God knows what else. Well, he's now a free man. Now he's out back in the same city where he and his mates hunted down those kids. Why the hell isn't he on a plane back to Pakistan? Why are our girls forced to share the same streets as the same monsters who did the most heinous things to them? Why do our authorities ignore this stuff for years at a time? Why do they cover up for these rape gangs? The police, councils, social services, they're either all too scared to act, or maybe they're involved themselves. Who knows? What we do know is that hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of white working class girls across Rotherham, Rochdale, Oxford, Derby, Telford, Newcastle, it goes on everywhere. They're being sacrificed on the altar of so-called diversity. I wonder if anyone has been able to give me a comment yet on anything that's improved in the past 5 or 10 years. Nope. No one has. Kid says that they should both be done for murder. One of them stabbed him and the other let him die. I completely agree. Lana says, they're all in it together. Again, I agree. We all know this, don't we? We know that they're all in cahoots. We know that they're all working together. That judge needs hanging. He's compromised. Yeah, again, I agree. I think he is. I mean, hanging might, we'll discuss that another day, but absolutely he's compromised. I've actually got a section coming up in a little bit where I'm going to be showing you a list of compromised judges. You will be shocked at the things I'm about to show you about the judges in the UK. I've got their names, I've got their photos. And when I show you the things that they've been doing, you'll be shocked. The madness isn't stopping because police are now being blasted online. I can't believe this next one. Police have turned up at a memorial fundraiser for murdered 15-year-old schoolboy Harvey Willgoose. Now, that's Harvey there at the top. Why did the police turn up? Well, because they wanted to demand an event certificate. With everything that's going on in this world, they wanted, or they wasted their time to turn up at an event, a memorial fundraiser for a murdered 15-year-old boy to demand that they have the correct certification in place. With everything that's going on, that's the sort of thing that police are now prioritising. Now, Harvey was stabbed to death on his lunch break at All Saints Catholic High School in Sheffield. He was stabbed in the heart with a hunting knife by another 15-year-old kid in front of other pupils. And, yeah, you guessed it. Let's take a look at the kid. Yeah, looks about right. Yeah. The killer, and don't fall over with shock when I tell you his name. Are you ready? Mohammed. Yeah, shock. Why was a Muslim even going to a Catholic school anyway? Well, the family decided to hold an event called Harvey Fest at the Hogs Head pub in Hackenthorpe, a proper community event raising cash for what they've called Harvey's Hub. It's a youth club that's been put together in his memory, and former Sheffield United keeper Paddy Kenny was there. The family had full permission to put it on. The pub said, yeah, go ahead, let's do it. Hold the event. So that's what they did. They just tried to create something positive from the fact that their son was killed at school by Mohammed. Shock. However, when the police caught wind of this, they rocked up demanding paperwork like it was some sort of illegal rave. Now, Paddy Kenny filmed it and uploaded it to X, where it's going viral right now. Take a look.
So I'm just here at the Harvey Fest, and it's a massive thing for Harvey Willgoose, and his mum and dad have put on outside. And look at this. Police have turned up asking for double or climb and soda water, please. Police have turned up asking for an event certificate. What the fuck has this world come to? Unfucking believable. I can't catch my fucking breath. Sorry for swearing.
I mean, it should be shocking, but actually it's not, is it? That's what the police are prioritising right now. With everything that's going on in the country, that's what's being prioritised, things like that. Hazel says a lot of the judges are members of the Fabian Society. Absolutely, absolutely. Kathy, that's actually quite interesting. A few people have said this. So Kathy, for anyone listening and not watching, Kathy said the reason Muslims are going to Catholic schools is, to kill a Catholic. That's why. Now, so many people have said that our education system, and predominantly these religious schools, they are being filled by Muslims. Why? Why would that be the case? Maybe they're just going to the nearest school. I don't know. I'm asking the question. But yeah, Alan has said, I see your mate Bruce is having a meltdown over a store in Makerfield. Yeah, we love Bruce. We love Bruce. I was talking to him about that today. We love Bruce. Yeah, Kaz has said, we love Brucey. He's all right. He's all right. He's a bit of a knob. I'm going to move on to the next story because I really want to get onto the judges as well. But this next one is absolutely shocking. 3 teenage boys whose nationalities are not allowed to be disclosed, so make of that what you will, have just been convicted of gang raping 2 British girls in Hampshire. The boys overpowered the girls at knife point, filmed it all on their phones whilst laughing and cheering each other on, and then shared the videos online to embarrass and further humiliate the girls. 11 rape convictions between them. That's what they've been given. So what do they get? What's the punishment? What does the judge do? What does Judge Nicholas Rowland do? That's this guy. Well, he looks these young boys in the eyes and he says, none of you need to go to prison today. No jail. They've been given youth rehabilitation orders. Now, these young lads could have gone to jail. They could have done. But the judge decided to give them a slap on the wrist and essentially some supervision instead. Why? Well, because this parasite of a judge said that he didn't want to, get ready for this, he didn't want to unnecessarily criminalise these children. Like, firstly, they're old enough to know better. And secondly, how is punishment for rape unnecessary? What is wrong with this country? We are talking about the gang rape of 2 girls. We're talking about these boys filming them, laughing about it, sharing it online, and then, what, they get to walk free. And so-called, they're offered rehabilitation. The judges in this country are serious. They're mentally unwell. They're mentally unwell. Sue Thornton says that judge's hard drive definitely needs... I agree. It needs checking. Of course it does. You're a judge. You're in court, okay? And you decide that these 3 young boys... What was it he said? He he didn't want to jail them unnecessarily. Like, they've committed rape. They've committed gang rape. How is putting them away unnecessary? He looks like a paedophile, Paul. I mean, yeah, to be fair. Yeah, he does. He just does. I think you're right. He does. Yeah, 100%. Kaz D's back again with another comment. She says they're all corrupt. All of them. Well, I'm going to show you some things now, actually. Some judges. So, let's just go through the list. And tell me if you're shocked. Tell me if you're not. Tell me what you think. Number 1, Judge John Temperley. He sentenced Billy Thompson, 31, to 12 weeks in prison for emojis which incited racial violence. However, the same judge previously let a paedophile who had been stashing child abuse images walk free because he had displayed remorse. Sorry, what? He let a paedophile who had been stashing child abuse images walk free because he he displayed remorse. Next one. This is Judge Everett, and he sentenced Julie Sweeney, 53, to 15 months in prison for a Facebook post which read, "Blow the Southport Mosque up." I mean, yeah, okay, that's pretty extreme, Julie. Listen, Julie, that's pretty out there, love. 15 months in prison for that. I mean, technically, yeah, I agree with that. However, Everett has let multiple paedophiles, walk free, and he once called it unconscionable to send a man caught with child rape images to jail. Unconscionable. I'm going to read it one more time. He's let multiple paedophiles walk free, and he said it was unconscionable to send a man caught with child rape images to jail. Moving on. Judge Andrew Menery sentenced William Nelson Morgan, 69, to 32 months in prison for refusing to move out the way of police officers. 32 months for obstructing a police officer. That's insane. However, Menery previously let a paedophile who collected baby rape videos walk with no jail time because his lawyer said he had good character. What judge is going to stand there? What lawyer is going to stand there and say, "Judge, my client, he's got really bad character"? It's not going to happen. Of course, the lawyer's going to say that. But even though the lawyer did say that, why the fuck would a judge say, "Well, your lawyer says you're all right, so you know what? Don't worry about the paedophilia, mate. Just you get yourself off." It's insane. This is Judge Berry. He sentenced Brandon Kirkwood, 20, to, what does it say there? I'm just waiting for my screen to move. 2.5 years in prison for pushing a large wheelie bin, at police. Berry recently let a paedophile walk free with a recommendation to go and get some fresh air instead of collecting child abuse images. Guys, go and fact check all of this. Berry let a paedophile walk free with a recommendation to go and get some fresh air. A paedophile ended up in court. The judge said, "Don't worry about it, mate. Just go and get some fresh air and don't do it again." Heaven forbid your name's Lucy Connolly, though, and you say, one half-arsed tweet where you say, "Oh, yeah, go burn it down for all I care." So it's not even an instruction. She's just saying, "I don't care if you do." And she ends up with 2 years in jail for one tweet that she then deleted. This is Stephen Malin. He's the first person to be sentenced in Teesside for his involvement in the violent disorder in Hartlepool on Wednesday, the 31st of July. Judge Laird jailed him for 26 months. The 53-year-old was constant. He was jailed for 53. He was jailed for 26 months because he was in the face of officers gesticulating, so waving his arms about, and shouting at them. Okay. Judge Neil Rafferty has denied bail to even those arrested with viewing the riots remotely. So, when the riots were going on after Southport, people were watching them online. I do apologise, I've had man flu and my voice keeps, I'm just going to have to take a sip here. Oh, I love doing these live streams. Okay. When the Southport attack happened, people were viewing the riots online, and there were some stories that people were getting locked up for viewing these riots and for sharing them as well. People were sharing them online. People were getting locked up for it. So that's what's happened here. Now, this judge, Neil Rafferty, he denied bail to someone who viewed the riots. But he also previously let a man convicted of raping his vulnerable niece to walk free because he was remorseful. Got a few more to go. Judge Robert Linford sentenced David Maguire, 45, to 2.5 years in jail for spitting on police officers. Now, spitting's wrong. Of course it is. It is assault, technically, right? No one likes to be spat on. 2.5 years is wild for that. It's insane. But you know what? You spat on a police officer, suck it up. However, Linford previously let a paedophile go with a community sentence after he was caught with child sexual abuse images because he had a constructive view of the future. Let me get this straight. Because he was positive about the future, he got a community sentence. He let a paedophile get a community sentence because he was constructive with his view of the future. 2 more to go. Judge Jeremy Richardson sentenced Kenzie Rowley, 18, to 2 years in jail for kicking a CCTV van and goading police. Okay, she kicked a CCTV van. Sound. Okay, right. Don't do that. Goading? Is that illegal? Can someone let me know? Is that illegal? Is it illegal? I probably should have Googled this, to be fair. Is it illegal to goad someone, to essentially wind them up? How is goading someone illegal? My wife goads me all the time. Maybe I should maybe we should get her put in the cells for the night. Certainly give me a bit of peace and quiet. Goading. 2 years. However, Richardson, this is Judge Richardson, previously let a paedophile go after he targeted a vulnerable 13-year-old girl for sexual abuse, and he let him go because he didn't want him to suffer in prison. Is this not blowing anyone else's mind? Last one. Judge Guy Curl sentenced Philip Hoban, a renowned paedophile hunter, to 8 months in prison for shouting, "Who the fuck is Allah?" and making racist lip gestures. Yeah, me neither. I haven't got a clue. Racist lip gestures. What would you even do? I'm trying to think of what you could do with your lips that would be racist. Lost. But he previously allowed a man found with 2,700 photos of young girls being sexually abused to walk free. It blows my mind. It's blowing your mind. The comments are going nuts here. I'm going to have to... Jackie is saying he should be sacked. They should all be sacked. They should all be given the noose. I don't care. Any judge who's letting paedophiles walk free needs a thorough investigation. They just do. I'm going to have to take another sip of my drink. I do apologise. My throat is in bits. Tommy Holden is back again and said, This is the surprising bit. I don't realize it was that bad with the judging system. Oh, it's shocking. It is shocking. If you are a threat to the system, you know, if you're Tommy, if you're Katie Hopkins, if you're someone like that, they'll come down hard. Katie Hopkins called herself a spaz and she got arrested for it. Like, they went after her because she called herself a spaz. Judges are letting paedophiles walk free because they show remorse. They're all in it together. I don't care what anyone says. Oh, Kaz has Googled. Thank you, Kaz. Kaz actually Googled it. Goading is a crime. Yes, goading can be a crime, particularly when it constitutes harassment. Causes a lot. Yeah, but is goading an actual crime? Because harassment is a crime. Causing alarm or distress is a crime. Incites another person to commit an offence. Well, yeah, it's a criminal offence to intentionally cause harassment, alarm, or distress. Blah 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 blah. So yeah, those are like separate. But is goading? Goading is a crime. So if I wind my wife up too much, I'm breaking the law. Oh God, I need to do better. I wind that woman up something chronic. Starmer and Hermer, they're behind a lot of this shite. They are, yeah, but I mean, I think it runs so much deeper than that. I think it runs so much deeper. We've seen everything with like the Epstein files, haven't we? Where, you know, these people, they're rotten to the very core, but they're in these positions of power. And I genuinely think like Starmer, Hermer, they're just middlemen. They're just middlemen. This is a system now that is so rotten to its very core that when other paedophiles get caught, they're like, well, you know. I think that they look after their own, don't they? They look after their own. All of these dirty, disgusting, demonic fucks, they look after themselves. Chris says, hi, Richard. Hi, Chris. I'm sorry, reminded me of who the F is, Alice, British humour. I have no idea what that means. I do apologise, Jackie, but I'm going too far back in the comments now. The comments have just been coming in thick and fast, so I do apologise. I'm not going to be able to get through them all. Kata, before we go, Kata says the law is now the opposite of common sense. Absolutely. Absolutely. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Managed to get through it in the end. Like I say, dying of man flu all week. My throat's absolutely killing. And I've got very lefty neighbours next door. My neighbours are very lefty. And this garage, I didn't realise until, well, I did know, but I just didn't think about it. This garage backs right onto their garden. So where the camera is now, it's right against the wall. So where you are now is the wall between my garage and the neighbour's garden. And they're very lefty. They have like Ukraine flags and Palestine flags. Yeah, weirdos. But they sit right there behind the wall. So I'm trying to not shout too much about Mohammeds and all the rest of it because, I mean, you just don't want to fall out with your neighbours, do you? Even if they are weird lefty fucks. They wear lycra all the time. They cycle everywhere, and I mean everywhere. And they don't just get on their bike and pop to the shops. They don like the full lycra. They test their tyre. I've seen them in the back garden checking their tyre pressures, like torquing up the wheels, like checking the handlebar alignment and all the rest of it. And I sit there watching them and I think, where they must be going for like a proper ride out, do you know what I mean? 15 minutes, because I drive because I'm lazy. 15 minutes later, they're at the shops. They're buying sausage rolls and that. In their lycra. Then they get back on the bikes and come home. Weirdos. I never tell them that because I'm not man enough to actually say it loud enough for them to hear. Anyway, get it. Chris says, get it insulated, pal. I'll do it for you. Get on, Chris. Would you actually, mate, I need electric, so I'm having to run, right? This is the thing with being skint. I'm having to run. I'm daisy chaining. I shouldn't be doing it. Like what they called extension leads from the house into the garage for me lights, me PC, everything. So it's not the best setup. I'll be honest. Did have electrics in the garage we rent, but the fuse board, it's older than me mum. It's really old. But yeah, Kathy says be careful, you'll get locked up for slagging lefties off. Honestly, they put one phone call into the police to say that I've caused them alarm or distress. I had this a couple of months ago, right? So before I go, I'm just going to explain something briefly. We're getting proper off script here. A couple of months ago, let me take another sip. God, this man flu. I think between trying to whisper and stay quiet so I can slag my neighbours off and having the man flu, my voice is just, it's wrecked. But a couple of months ago, right, the lefties, they put my old address out, they doxed me, right? They reported me to my son's nursery, like all sorts. And we had to move house. Now, what they also did was they were on Facebook saying, oh yeah, we've got his address. We're going to go round to his house. We'll pay him a visit. They were talking about bringing like samurai swords and all sorts. So I was like, this is pretty heavy, this. Now, I'm no grass, but when you've got a 2-year-old and a wife and you're not always at home, so you can't always... I rang the police, right? That's what I did. I rang the police. Not proud of it, but I had to do it. I rang the police and I said, look, these people, like, I've got death threats, like... this guy here, I can't remember, I think his name was Gareth something. He's got a business. He's got like an electrical hardware store. I searched his name. Well, I searched his handle. His handle on X was something like, Gareth, the electrician or something like that. Sparky Gareth or something. So I typed it into Google. Well, he also had a LinkedIn account with the same handle. Went onto his LinkedIn account. It had his business, which was registered to his home address. So I had his home address. Then found the business on the high street where he was running from, put it into Google. Oh, he stood outside like posing with his new like banner and stuff. Oh, business is now open a couple of years ago. So I said to the police, I said, look, he's threatening to come round to my house with a samurai sword. This is his address. This is where he works. Can you go and see him? They went, nah, it doesn't meet the threshold. I said, what? It doesn't meet the threshold. The following week, some random person on the internet put a complaint into the police because my content that they were viewing themselves, like off their own backs. They didn't just block me. They were viewing my content. They gave 26 examples to the police of how my content was causing them alarm and distress. And the police said, you have to come in for an interview, a voluntary interview, or we will arrest you. That's how lopsided it all is. Luckily, I get about 20 million views a month on social media. So a lot of people have reached out, lawyers, solicitors, all the rest of it. And they say things like, if you need any help, please let me know. Well, there's a law firm just up the road. And I won't say who it is for obvious reasons. But they got in touch months ago and they said, look, if you need any help, please let us know. So I thought, I've got no money. What am I going to do? Like, the police are coming for me. So I went to this law firm. Oh, my word. I won't say her name, but she's a proper old school lawyer. I think she's only a few years off retirement. She went, they've done what? She said, right, leave it with me. Phone goes dead. 15 minutes later, I had a phone call from the sergeant at the police station apologising to me. They dropped it all, got NFA'd. Oh, yeah, it's not what you know. It's not what you know. Listen, thank you all so much for tuning in. This was a bit of a test, to be honest with you, to see if the system works when it cools down a little bit. Let me know if it looks okay, if you change anything. And yeah, I'm going to try and do episodes twice a week, Monday and Thursday. When my throat is working. Thank you so much for... It's as bad as Speedos. I don't know what you're on about, Kata. I don't know what you're on about. But yes, Speedos are never good. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will catch you in the next episode. Goodbye.